All right, let's talk about a piece of tech that's probably running behind the scenes on some of the apps you use every single day. We're diving into Citus.
But hey, before we can really get what Citus is all about, we have to talk about the problem it's built to solve, right? So PostgreSQL, it's one of the most loved, most powerful open source databases out there. But like any single database server, when your app gets huge, I mean really huge, it can hit a wall. So the million-dollar question for years has been, how do you get bigger? How do you scale without having to rip everything out and start from scratch?
And that's exactly where Citus steps in. This quote, it just nails it. It's PostgreSQL, but turbocharged. Think about that. It's not about replacing PostgreSQL. Nope. It's about strapping a rocket engine to it. So let's unpack what that turbocharging really looks like. First step, let's go back to the beginning. The origin story tells you everything you need to know about the mission behind this thing. Okay, so the story kicks off way back in 2011. The founders had this one super clear goal: take everything that makes PostgreSQL great, all its rich, powerful features, and figure out how to make it run across a whole bunch of machines. You know, what we call scaling horizontally. And they did such a good job that by 2019, Microsoft, yeah, that Microsoft, took notice and acquired them. Now it's a core part of their Azure Cloud Database services. That's a pretty big deal. So the big question is, how? How does Citus actually pull this off? Let's pop the hood and look at the architecture that makes all this incredible scale possible. It all comes down to one core idea: sharding. And honestly, the concept is pretty straightforward. Instead of having one massive, clunky database table, you get smart about it. You break it up into smaller, much more manageable pieces called shards. Then, Citus takes these shards and spreads them out across a bunch of different computers. The magic? Now you can do work on all those pieces at the same time. And this is how it all comes together in practice. So, you send a query, but it doesn't just blast out to every machine. First, it hits a central coordinator node. You can think of the coordinator as the brain of the operation. It knows exactly where all the little data shards live. So it takes your big query, breaks it down into smaller, parallel tasks, and shoots them off to the right worker nodes. Each worker does its little piece of the job on its own local data, sends the answer back to the brain, and the coordinator pieces it all together to give you the final result. It's a beautiful, classic divide and conquer strategy. And this is so important. You're not giving anything up to get this power. Citus is an extension, not some weird stripped-down replacement. All the stuff that developers absolutely love about PostgreSQL, I'm talking columnar storage for analytics, the super flexible JSON-B support, and even PostGIS for crazy geospatial queries, it's all still there. You just get to use it on a scale you never could before. Okay, so that's the tech. It's cool, it's fascinating, but what does it actually mean in the real world? How does this architecture translate into real business impact? Well, because of how it's built, Citus unlocks some seriously powerful capabilities. You can do complex stuff like joins and transactions across a whole fleet of machines. You can run real-time analytics on just a fire hose of data as it comes in. And here's one of its absolute killer features: built-in support for multi-tenant SaaS apps. This makes it so much easier to handle data for thousands of different customers, which, trust me, is a massive headache for any growing software company. And this is where it all clicks into place. Those features we just talked about, they directly power the kinds of apps you see here. That big SaaS platform serving thousands of tenants? Yep, that's the multi-tenancy feature in action. That live dashboard tracking millions of events per second? That's distributed analytics doing its thing. Citus is often the invisible engine in the background, making these super demanding applications actually work. And look, this isn't just some experimental tech. It is battle-tested. It's trusted by some major players to run their core systems. We're talking Microsoft, of course, but also companies like the analytics platform Heap and the sales intelligence tool MixRank. Now, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But let's be real, Citus isn't the only game in town when it comes to scaling databases. So what makes it stand out? Why would you choose Citus in what is a very crowded field? This table really lays it all out. You've got other big names, right? CockroachDB, which was built from the ground up to be distributed. You have Citus, which is kind of like the Citus for the MySQL world. And then you have Google Spanner, this massive proprietary global database. They're all incredible technologies. But look at Citus's edge against every single one of them. It's that one phrase: PostgreSQL native compatibility. It's not a brand new database you and your team have to learn from scratch. And that right there is the whole point. For any team that's already spent years building expertise, writing code, and getting to know the PostgreSQL ecosystem, Citus gives you a way to scale without throwing all of that knowledge in the trash. You get to stick with a database you already know and love. It's just, well, turbocharged. Which really leaves us with this final question to chew on. In a tech world that is always chasing the next shiny new thing, Citus makes this really powerful argument for innovating by extending what's already great. So when it's your turn to scale, what's the better move? Do you jump to a brand new system that was built for distribution from day one? Or do you turbocharge the proven, reliable classic that your team already loves? As Citus shows us, the answer isn't always as simple as it seems. Thanks for tuning in.